I'm Dr. Raghunathan. We are watching a series of lectures on embedded systems, and the controller that we are discussing in these videos is the PIC microcontroller. We have seen in the previous video some of the basics about the PIC microcontroller, and we discussed about the register file of the microcontroller. Then we discussed the different memories of the microcontroller of the PIC series. In this video, we'll be discussing about the PIC or the PIC interrupt, the different type of interrupts that are available in the PIC microcontroller. The topics that we will be discussing in this video are the interrupt process, how a general interrupt process occurs or takes place whenever some kind of devices request the service of the controller. Then we see specific to the PIC series of the controller, what are the different interrupts, how these interrupts are set or noticed, that will be seen through the different registers, and then we take up an explanation of the different registers of the PIC series for the interrupts. The figure shows a general interrupt process. Supposing that a program execution starts at this particular point and it continues, and the program continues till the end. But somewhere in the middle, while the program is executing, let's suppose say at this instant of time, some of the peripheral request the service of the controller. So what should the controller do? So the controller at this instant of time, for serving the service of the peripheral device, should save the return address of the next instruction, where after servicing this interrupt, it has to come back. So the first task the controller will do, it will save the return address if it has to serve. The condition, if it has to service the interrupt, then it has to suspend its current activity. And after servicing that interrupt, it has to come back and resume its current activity. So it has to save the return address and then take up the tasks that are written in the ISR, that is the interrupt service routine. After completing the ISR, that is the service for that particular peripheral, it has to come back. So it will retrieve the address of this next instruction back into the PC, and the normal resume operation of the process will take place. So this is how a general interrupt process occurs in a system. Let us now see the different interrupts that are available in the PIC series of the controller, and we are specifically talking about the PIC third family, and the controller that we are discussing is the PIC 16F877 microcontroller. This third family of the microcontroller, that is 16F877, it contains 15 interrupt sources. And what these interrupt sources are, if you combine them, they turn out to be 8 sources. If you can assume that timer is 1. So this comes from the external sources. This can come from the timers, that is the timer 0 and timer 1. It can come from the port B change, status change on the port B. It can come from the parallel slave port read and write operation. It can be through the A to D converter operation, whether the A to D conversion operation has been completed or not. Then UART receive and transmit a type of interrupt, synchronous serial port, then capture, compare, and the PWM 1 and 2. There are 2 interrupts of the CCP module. They are the CCP1 and CCP2. These are the capture, compare, and PWM. Then if a match is found between the timer 2 and PR2, then a comparator for the analog inputs, then double EEPROM write operation completed or not, and if the bus collision takes place. So these are the 15 sources of interrupts that are available in the PIC series of the controller, that is 16F877. Now let's understand this register file we have already seen, but let's study this particular table again, specifically for the purpose of interrupts. We know that these register file or this RAM area or the data memory. So what does it quickly it contains? It contains the special function registers, SFRs, and the general purpose registers. Now within the SFR, we said it contains the two types of SFRs. Those are the core SFR, which affect the functions of the controller itself, and the peripheral SFRs, which are used by the peripherals. In the video that we are discussing, we are interested about the interrupts. So we have the interrupts here, the INT call, PIR1, PIR2, PIE1 and PIE2. So you can have a look here that you have the intcon in all the four banks of the register, so that necessary settings can be done for each of the banks. Then the registers for the peripheral interrupts you have here, interrupt enable in the bank 1, and the status is indicated in the here in the bank 0. So you have some of the registers in the bank 0 and some others are in the bank 1 of the registers. So the topic of interest for us will be the int call, and there is a common format for the int call. It is available at address 0B, 8B, 10B, and 18B in different banks of the registers. Then you have the PIR1, PIR2 at address 0C and 0D, and PIE1, PIE2 at 8C and 8D addresses. So having seen that these interrupt registers are available within the register file or the registers of the PIC microcontroller series, starting from address that is 0D. So having seen these registers that they are available as SFR within the, so what are the registers that we have seen? We have seen the int call that is available at address 0B. Then it is available in the bank 1, bank 2, bank 3 also. Then we have the option register, then PIE1, PIE2, PIR1 and PIR2. So these are the different registers that are of interest as far as the interrupts of the PIC series of the controllers are concerned. Now, after having seen these registers, let us discuss them in detail one by one. The int con register. It is basically a 8-bit register, and this register is basically used for setting the interrupts. Let's see what these different bits of the register are. The bit number 7 is the GIE, stands for the global interrupt enable bit. So the global interrupt enable can be enabled. It enables all the unmasked interrupts, or 0 to disable them. So we can enable or disable by setting this bit to 1 or resetting it to 0. PEIE, that is a peripheral interrupt enable bit. So if we wish to get an interrupt from the peripherals, so we can set this particular bit so that the peripheral interrupt is enabled. So you can set it to 1 to enable, and you can clear it to 0 to disable all the peripheral interrupts. Then you have the timer 0 interrupt enable. So TMR0 overflow interrupt enable. So if you wish that whenever the timers are involved and if they overflow a count, then an interrupt should occur. So if that is the requirement, then timer 0 overflow interrupt enable bit can be set by setting it to 1, or it can be cleared or disabled by clearing it to 0. Then you have the interrupt enable. So if you want the RB0 port 0 an interrupt to occur from the external sources on the port B0, then we can enable it or we can disable it so that there is no interrupt on the port B0. Then there is a bit for the RB IE, that is the RB, port B change interrupt enable. If you wish to get the interrupt when the status of the port B changes, then you can enable this particular bit or disable to clear that particular interrupt. Then you have the timer 0 overflow interrupt flag bit. So here timer 0 IE interrupt enable bit was here, and the corresponding flag bit is here, bit number 2 of this INCON. Similarly, the port B0 interrupt enable pin was the bit number 4, and the corresponding flag bit is bit number 1 INTF. Similarly, we have the RBIF port B change. So port B change was RBIA. So here was the port B change interrupt enable bit, and if the interrupt occurs, then the corresponding flag bit are enabled here. So what do we have in this register? We have the 3 flag bits, and the rest are the interrupt enable bits. These 3 flags are corresponding to the timer 0, then port B or the external interrupt, and the port B change interrupts. So corresponding flags are available here. So that means if we wish some of the peripheral interrupts to occur, then we can set this particular bit number 6. And for all the global interrupt enable, if you set it to 1, then it enables all the unmasked interrupts. So having seen that, now let's see the next register which are helpful in the interrupt process, that is the option register. So what is the purpose of the option register is? It is used to configure the timer 0 prescaler WDT or the post scaler. So what are the different bits here? It is an 8-bit register, and you can see the first bit is RB PU. This is a port B. RB is a port B. PU is the pull up. The port B pull up. So if we port B pull up enable bit. So if you set it to 1, then the pull-ups will be disabled, and if you clear it to 0, then because it is a bar here, port B PU bar, so it is a low active. So when you reset it or clear it to 0, then all the pull-ups are enabled, otherwise the pull-ups are disabled. Then you have the INT edge, interrupt edge select bit. So if you want the interrupt to occur on the rising edge of the RB port B0, then you can set it to 1, and if you want it on the falling edge, you can clear it to 0. Then you have the timer 0 clock source select bit. So the clock source can be a transition on the POC, the timer 0 clock 1 pin, or it can be on the internal instruction cycle clock 0. Then you have the bit 4, that is the TOSC, timer 0 source edge select bit. So how do you want to select the source? A high to low transition or a low to high transition? So you can accordingly clear it or set it for high to low or low to. Then you have the PSA bit. This PSA is the prescaler assignment bit. 1 prescaler is assigned to the WDT, and 0 prescaler is assigned to the timer 0. So we have the 3 bits PS0 to PS2, that is 8 different combinations. Then the prescaler value can vary from 1:1, 1:2, 1:4, 1:8, and so on, up to 1:23, 256 prescaler values. So once all the options have been set, that what kind of prescaler, whether you want the prescaler to occur onto the clock timer 0 module, or you want it on the WDT module, or you want the timer 0 clock source onto the high to low or low to high rising, or whether you want the POCS, that is the timer 0 clock source select bit, transition on the POCK or transition on the internal clock 0. Then the third register is the PIE, peripheral interrupt enable register. So this register is for the peripherals. PS, the seventh bit is the PSPIE. It is a peripheral parallel slave port read write interrupt enable. So the parallel slave port read write interrupt enable. So if you will set it to 1, the interrupts will be enabled. You clear it to 0, all the interrupts will be disabled. A to D converter interrupt enable bit. So if you want the interrupt to occur onto the conversion completion of the A to D, then you can set it to 1, otherwise you can clear it to 0. Then you have the USART receive interrupt enable. Then the next is the USART transmit interrupt enable. Then you have the synchronous serial port interrupt enable. Then you have the CCP module interrupt enable. Then you have the timer 2 to PR2 match enable bit, and finally you have the timer 1 overflow interrupt enable. So here all the interrupts that are related to the peripherals. So all peripheral interrupt enable registers are set in this. So what these different peripherals interrupts are? Parallel slave port for all the different types of operations. Parallel slave port interrupt enable, A to D conversion interrupt enable, USART receive write serial port interrupt enable, and the CCP and the timer 2 to PR2 match. Then we have the corresponding PIR 1 register. So this contains the corresponding flag registers for the PIE 1 registers. So whatever the, if you just have a match here, this is PSPIF, KDIF, RCIF. So this is the parallel slave read write interrupt flag, A to D conversion complete. So if the interrupt to occur and the interrupt, the flag will be indicated here for A to D conversion completed. The USART receive flag and USART transmit flag. So this transmit buffer is empty or the receive buffer is full. Then these corresponding flags will be set to 1. Synchronous serial port, then the CCPIP, then you have the timer 2 interrupt flag, timer 2 to PR2 match flag bit, and similarly last one is the timer 1 overflow interrupt flag. So all the bits in this PIR1 is the corresponding flags of the PIE registers. Then you have the PIE2 peripheral interrupt enable second register. It contains the individual enable bits for the CCP2 module, then SSP bus collision, and the EEPROM write operation and the comparator. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 interrupts that can be enabled in PIE2, and the 4 are undefined here. So what these 4 interrupts are? This is CMIE, comparator interrupt enable bit, 1 to enable, 0 to disable. EEPROM interrupt enable for the write operation, 1 is enable and 0 to disable. The bus collision interrupt enable and the CCP2 module interrupt enable that are available in the PIE2. And the corresponding flag registers are available in the PIR2 registers for the PIE1. So having seen the different interrupt settings, so what we saw in this particular class, we started with the general interrupt process, what different step of operation takes place inside the controller whenever a device requests for the interrupt. We saw the general process. Then we saw what are the different sources of interrupts. We saw that there are 15 sources of interrupt specific to the controller, the PIC series controller 16F877. Then we saw the general register files, and we saw that starting from address 0B, 0C, 0D, we have the intcon, the PIR1 and PIR2 register. The corresponding register for setting the interrupts are available in the bank 1, the PIE1 and the PIE2. Then we have an option register which could be used for certain settings. The PIR1, PIR2, PIE1 and PIE2 are the corresponding interrupt enable registers and the interrupt enable flag registers. For example, the PIE1 is the peripheral interrupt enable for certain peripherals, and the PIR1 is the corresponding flag registers. So we have seen the complete process of the interrupt process in this video. So see you with more operations in the next.